Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Becky Brown.
Hello, everybody. We're so glad that you joined us today. However you are listening, we know that we have listeners from all over the place and in all different ways, but we're glad that you are here with us. And today we are taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. And I am joined by Jim Burns and Dr. Jill Hubbard. And, you know, I love the wisdom that everyone brings here to the program. And today we're going to hear from Jill. I know you've got some stuff on your mind. What would you like to share with us?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Well, I thought we would talk a little bit about attachment and substance use disorder. So substance use disorder is the newer diagnostic term for the whole range of abuse, addiction, from mild to severe. Okay, so I was reading an article, and the thrust of it is not something that is unknown to us, but that they were making the case for the fact that insecure attachment is a risk factor for substance use disorder. Okay, so that makes sense. It doesn't mean that everybody who has an insecure attachment develops some form of addiction, but people with addictions do have those insecurities. So let me also just say that insecure attachment, I think we all, none of us have 100% secure attachment. But even when we start off well, there are things that interrupt the attachment cycle, right, that can happen. There's divorce, there's deaths, there's incidents that happen that can take us off kilter. And so we often in those times search for things. And so one of the things, kids that often you find this in adolescence, right? That when you have an adolescent that is using substances, one of the things is to we want to peel back the layers. Like first, we were talking a week ago about having to address behavior. When behavior is out of control, you have to address behavior. But we are also talking about how you have to peel back the layers. And usually at the core of what's going on with any of us are issues starting with our attachment. How connected are we? And people who get involved with substances are often highly avoidant, right? They hide and they become more attached to the substance than comfort received from people. And so there's, as a therapist, we kind of have to hold all the parts of a person. And so we're dealing with this acting out behavior and what's taking on a life of its own. But we also have to look at, okay, how do we connect with this person? And what were their original connections like? And what are their current connections like? And how is this acting out also contributing to an insecure attachment, right? It's reinforcing it. And it's disrupting relationship and how the healing, just like Jesus's example, healing takes place in relationship.
Yeah, I love that, Jill. And I think about so many people who struggle with substance abuse who have used the substance to nurture that thing that wasn't met when they were younger. And yet what happens in so many times when we're doing treatment recovery, we're not looking at that.
No.
And it's such a powerful part of recovery because it's not just stop using whatever you're using. It's literally going to take a lot of different parts, but it's worth doing, right? It's worth doing. I love also that concept that Jesus brought it into relationship because that's where we can find that connection.
Well, and that's where the power of groups, the power of 12-step is in the relationships, really.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful that you brought that to mind. If you're struggling with something like that, we have been telling people about recovery forever, because we know that there is hope and healing, and we want to help you with that. We're going to take a break. We're going to go to the calls right after this.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict.
There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Orange County, California, February 24th through the 26th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Well, hello, we are back, and I told you that Jill is so smart, and you know, one of the things that you said, Jill, that yes. I think that's got to get out into the world. You know, we are trying to change the language from referring to people as addicts. You know that. Right. You know, that's not who they are. And I've always said this, you know, we're first and foremost a child of God, and we come into this world and we experience all kinds of challenges. And so when we're talking about substance use disorder, it helps us kind of depersonalize
and
what's been going on.
Redefined it as a medical disorder, right? And it affects you physically. It's a brain disorder, right? And it also affects you psychologically.
Right, because so many times, and we help families with this understanding, is that a lot of times this isn't a choice. Once there's a big problem, it's you know, because a lot of times when you're on the other end of this type of behavior, we can say, you just need to stop. You just need to quit. Why can't you get better? And if it were only that easy,
I know.
We wouldn't be talking about it.
And that's why it's so important to help kids make good and right decisions, because I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, how old are you? They were 55. They started drinking at 16. So they quit learning how to cope with stress properly. So they were going off. I mean, they were working it out, but what they hadn't done was they don't know how to cope with stress. So they didn't. You have to learn now how do I do it, and you have to go all the way back to when they started drinking, because that's how they were coping. And that's
exactly.
a big deal.
So good. And
start young. Help these kids make good decisions when they're adolescents.
Well, help them connect, right? And learn how to deal with their emotions.
Yeah, and it's not just getting off a drug. It's connecting, and you can do it much better when there is intimacy and when there is a healthy attachment.
Yep, I agree. Well, we're going to go to the calls. We're going to connect and attach with Hope, who's calling us from Broken Bow, Nebraska, listens on KJLT. Hello, Hope. How can we help you today? Thanks for calling.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this resource. I'm just calling to ask on some advice on, seeking forgiveness in a broken relationship. The context is myself and my stepmom have had pretty much a broken relationship since we had a big disagreement after my husband and I, we were in our engagement season, and a big disagreement about planning a shower, and a lot of stuff came up and out of the emotions, the upsetness from it, and we really haven't haven't really had the same relationship since then. We don't really talk much. We do, but it just feels very difficult to actually connect.
Yeah, that can be difficult.
Yeah, and we see, she's with my dad still, and so we go see them on holidays, and they come to my husband and I, our children's birthdays and things like that. And, they still are very, generous with their gifting for presents and things. And, we say, I love you, but we don't stay really connected very much, So I just wanted to know, like, I've been, like, asking and praying the Lord about if I should even, like, bring it up again, in a sense of, like, do I need to ask for more forgiveness, or, like, really check in and see how they feel about the relationship, or my stepmom and maybe my dad too. And
that's a good question, Hope.
Yeah,
Jill, go ahead and
Hope,
start.
it sounds like you want it to be different, like that you're missing the way the relationship used to be. So somebody here has to take a step for it to be any different. And typically in a family structure, and I don't know if your mom is still around, but she is? Okay, but stepmom is probably the lowest rung on the totem pole, maybe along with stepdad, but stepmom in terms of not overstepping boundaries, wanting to have relation, but not really having a lot of power or say so, depending on the dynamics of each individual family. But so it sounds like there's hurt on her part as well as on yours.
Yeah.
And so when people are still hurt, yet they're participating, I think absolutely addressing it, right? Because when left just to have the incident swim in our own heads, it usually ends up growing and being worse than it actually was. And
what would that look like,
for
Jill?
you to
how
maybe
would
say,
she do that?
maybe you write her a letter if it feels difficult to talk. But stepmom, I miss our relationship the way it used to be. And I want to take ownership for my part in the change. Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know any person that wouldn't be touched by you saying, I value you. I value you. I miss you. And I'm hoping we can work through whatever disagreement we have had.
Hope, I have a question. How long has it been since the event and now?
Quite a while, about 5 years. So my husband and I have been married 5 years, a little over 5 years. It's been,
so the reason why I'm asking that is because now the relationship is in a different drive.
Yeah.
And so it may be that, yes, do what Jill's talking about, but it may be that you have to not just repair, but make this a different type of relationship. That, it's very hard to uncover something that it probably has gotten worse, bigger, and both of your minds and your hearts. But I love that you stayed connected, though. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah.
But Jim, what would you say to Hope about
Hope,
this?
it says a lot about you, and it also says a lot about her, because she's coming, she's showing up, and you're showing up.
Yeah.
And again, the relationship is different. And so Becky's right that, it may have to change the relationship. I love when Jill says, bring it up. I think you do. I wrote the word coffee. Let's pretend that she likes coffee. I think you ask her out for coffee, and I don't think you bring it up first thing. I think you just bring it up and say, so you know what, I've missed our times together. How are you? What's going on? I mean, honestly, you're not even bringing this thing up. And then look for that time. And it might be in the first conversation. There's something, I just feel like 5 years ago, something happened, and I take responsibility for my, part, and I just want to, I really want to have a different relationship. Because, again, she's kind of she's the step grandma too. Now, and there's other things, but I would go after her. Now, again, you mentioned your dad too, and you may need to bring him into it, but I would go after her with something, kind of throw her. You haven't maybe invited her for coffee for 5 years or whatever it might be. Do they live a long distance, or is this something you could naturally do? Something doesn't have to be coffee.
It's a little bit out of the way, like an hour and a half.
Okay, so it is.
Go that way much.
Yeah, and you know what? That may say something to her, even if you say, hey, you know what? She knows you're busy. She knows the kids and whatnot. But say, hey, I'd love to, spend a little bit of time with you. But honestly, don't jump into it if that doesn't feel comfortable to you. Bring it in naturally in the conversation, but let her know that, that says a lot. And a lot of times if you just say, I want to spend time with you, that makes a difference to her, because maybe she, has got all kinds of things in her head from these 5 years. But you're showing up, she's showing up. So that's good. I think there's, no pun intended, I think there's hope.
Yes. So maybe engaging in a way that Hope you used to, Jim, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, even if it's, could we meet in the middle?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And Dad's going to love that too, to be honest, because Dad wants the relationship to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm going to be in the area for the day and make a reason to go there.
Yeah.
Could we get together?
I want to ask one more question, Hope. Because of the time frame of life that you're in with raising children, new marriage, all
practical?
That. Well, and has there been a delay because of that? Like, is this something that's been kind of gnawing at you, but there just hasn't been time or space? Is that kind of how it's happened? Or in the early part of it, was there such disconnect that you were hurt or she was hurt, and so you didn't know how to connect?
I feel like like early on it was definitely as you described, but also now too with the time that's passed and stuff, it feels like, I don't know if it's because, in my thought I was like, should I open a can of worms or should I just try to leave it where we're kind of in a feels like maybe peace, or at least, we can get along while we have to be, but.
But it's on your heart, and that's why I think it's worth exploring. In recovery, we talk about making amends. We make a list of the people who we've harmed, and then we work through that with other people, a sponsor, and then go through the list and try to make amends where it won't hurt somebody else. So this is kind of what we're talking about. And that you are not trying to settle a score with her, but you're literally clearing the air so that whatever the relationship is going to be, you're not going to have this gnawing pain of, gosh, I hate the way that went.
Yeah. Even asking the question, do we have any unfinished business?
Yeah.
That's a great phrase, because you may be surprised. You may go, no, I'm good. I love the kids. I love you, on, and then carry on. And you may hear some other stuff. It doesn't have to be your unfinished business on the same conversation. Just take it. Just, you're the catcher. This is, here is the baseball illustration, but the catcher just receives the pitch. So you may have to receive that pitch. You'll have your time, of course. But at that point, is there, some unfinished business that we need to talk through? And you don't even have to go with great details or even bring up 5 years ago. I just want to have as little unfinished business with lots of people. Yeah. And that's why we're having coffee.
Well, and again, whenever you express that you value a person through your words and your actions, it does tend to soften their hearts. And I can tell you, Hope, I have worked with parents, and I've worked with this same, configuration where dad and stepmom are at a loss, right? And they want to reconnect and would love to have, a child reach back out, right? And say, okay, let's talk.
Yeah. I think this is going to work.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I think
you may be more surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, she might be a little guarded, but just lean in with love.
And to that point, I think a lot of times when we're repairing relationships, we have to be ready for it may not be what we're expecting.
Sure.
Like you said, Jim, she may just say, I haven't thought another thing about it. I'm glad that you reached out to me so that you don't struggle with it anymore. But, it may not even be in her mind.
Or she might have a whole list of grievances.
Oh, okay, Jill.
Sorry. I just don't want you to
right.
Pop in the bubble.
Yeah.
But I just think whenever we have, when we talk about reconnecting, or making amends, or however that goes, we have to be open to whatever the relationship will look like post reconnection, because it isn't going to be all. A lot of times we hear this with people who have found their birth parents after experiencing adoption, and they have this thing in their mind about what that relationship is going to be like. Oh, we're going to be so close. And it's like, oh, you might not be. And so you might need to kind of measure that expectation. But I want to just reaffirm you, Hope, that I love that you've been praying about it. I love that this is your intention. And no matter what her response will be, that speaks volumes of your character. And we're going to be praying for what that next step will be, however that will go for you. I'm trying to think of a good book that I would refer. Go ahead, Jill.
Oh, sorry, I had a verse. So Romans 12:18 is one of my favorites. As far as it depends on you, be at peace with one another. So take care of your side of things.
I love that. Well,
we'll come back with a book.
It's a great verse. Yeah, okay. Well, that's a good plan. Or I was thinking Take Your Life Back might be a good one too, because it is all about your side of the street.
Sure. Okay.
We're so grateful that you called, Hope. We'll be praying for this situation. Can't wait to see how it works out for you. And we will have hope for a good resolve in this, because we want families to be connected and have healthy relationships. We'll be right back after this.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I would have getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Dr. Heidi Summers on coaching.
A lot of people don't understand the difference between counseling and coaching. Coaches can help you with strategizing. Not everyone is in a crisis or recovering from a trauma. A lot of people just need help getting to where they want to be, and they don't know how to do that. And so it's helpful to have a third party come in to give objective feedback, set goals, create accountability, and help you walk out what your goals actually are.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches are intended to help you live in the present and goal set toward what it is you want for the future.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are always grateful to hear from you, and we take calls from all over the place with all kinds of situations. And New Life has been doing this for a long time, 35 years of helping people, and in ways that, whether it's a phone call to the radio program or an intensive. We've got our Restore Intensive that's coming up to help women who have experienced sexual betrayal and the healing process. And it's just such a powerful intensive. We want you to take this next step for your own healing if you've experienced betrayal in your relationship. We love to hear some of the classic calls from Steve and former co-hosts, and we're going to go to one right now. Go ahead, Terry. Roll that.
All right, let's jump over here and go to Paul. Paul from Washington, D.C. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Good. What's going on with you today?
Well, I was just calling. I was calling because my father is an active alcoholic, and I was kind of wondering how to get him into treatment.
Yeah. Okay. Your father lives where as opposed to you?
He lives in Texas, actually within walking distance of my sister.
Okay. And is she close to him? Are you close to him?
Yeah, I would say we're both close to him.
Mm-hmm. So have you thought about the two of you? Who else is close to him?
My aunt and uncle, but
Okay.
they're very far away from him. They're
All
in
right.
New York and New Mexico.
Well, so many people, when they're in an impossible situation with an alcoholic, you know, they get an interventionist. They get an interventionist. And the people that are far away fly in, and then you and your sister, and you sit down with him. It's a pretty powerful emotional time. But these specialists know how to turn an impossible situation into the beginning of total change and healing, and it's really an amazing concept. Have you thought about that?
I haven't, because he's almost 75 years old.
Well, that means it'll be a little bit easier when you all present it and he sees the reality and says, okay, and you've already worked out what he's supposed to do after that.
All right.
You know, he might have another 10 years, 15 years to live, and it'd be great if you could help him get free of that.
Hey, Paul, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What have you guys tried so far that has not worked?
Well, I think what we've tried is I've talked to him and said, you know, you should really deal with this. I've also told him, because I think he's also depressed.
Yeah.
So I've told him, at first I told him get treatment for the alcoholism, but then later I thought as kind of another approach would be get him to get treatment for depression, and then hopefully somebody would pick up on that, and they could treat his the alcoholism.
Okay. Was he open to getting treatment?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Then I think what you've probably got to do is you've got to tie, the way that you're interfacing with him and the relationship and the power and the leverage of those relationships into the demand that he gets some help, both medically and for the alcohol. And generally, when people have been talking to a family member and nothing is happening, Steve is exactly right that the family is so kind of, and I do not mean this in the negative sense of the term, but the family's ineffective in getting any results. What I mean by ineffective is the family, for whatever reason, is not bringing about the effect in the message that needs to get there. But here's the paradox. The family does have the power to do that if they knew how to do it, that would bring about the effect. So it's not that you're powerless, it's just that the methods are not bringing around the effect. And a good interventionist sits down with you and the other family members that have power, and what they do is they listen and they figure out what the points of entry are, they figure out where the leverage is, they figure out what the outcomes are, what the downsides are, what the risks are, what the resources are, and all of this. And what they do is they construct a playbook. And they've done this thousands of times before. And so that's why you really want to get an addiction, guru to do this with you and coach you, so you won't spend the power of the family in an ineffectual way.
All right, now I'm going to put you in touch with our folks at the New Life Recovery Center in Florida. They have interventionists, and some of these people have a 100% success rate.
Wow.
So that's what we want to see happen. So hold on. Anybody else, if you're sitting there and you're saying, well, my situation is impossible, this person will not do anything. There are people that have spent their life committed to helping people who will not do anything. The Bible says, hold back those staggering toward the slaughter. That's what this means. Intervene, do something, don't not do nothing. It's kind of what I like to say, since I have very poor grammar. All right, hold on. I'm going to send you a copy of, what would be a good copy? Maybe Boundaries would be a good.
Yeah,
okay.
I think, ultimately what the person has to hear is, we are here for you, we are going to help you, but we are only going to help you and be here for you if you decide to come to the light.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
All right, I'm glad you called.
I'm glad they called too, because we're still learning all these years later. And if you do feel stuck, if you feel like Paul where, he feels like they've tried everything and maybe it's too late. It's not too late. If you're breathing, there's still hope, and we want to help you along that journey. You can call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can go to newlife.com and just get curious. There's always hope. We'll be right back after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so grateful that you joined us, and we got some calls that we're going to go to. I just want to just make a mention. If you're not sure that Every Man's Battle Intensive is for you, you could go and take a short quiz at newlife.com and maybe begin your new life of freedom. We would love for you to make that decision and change not only your life, but those of the folks that are around you. It really does make a difference. Now we're going to go to the calls, and we're going to talk with Nikki, who's calling us from Omaha and listens on the podcast. You can too. You can download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's free, and we'd love for you to join us there. Hi, Nikki. How can we help you today?
Yes, I was calling in. I just feeling really stuck in life, and things seem to be getting worse, not better. I've been in a relationship for about 8 years now, just dating. He drinks heavily. I'm also a recovering addict. I see all the signs there that I'm in over my head with that. And I have a 14-year-old son at home still, and I see myself failing as a mom. I'm also disabled, which I think I just lost my disability. But just most of all, I've just been stuck, and I just don't seem to be going anywhere forward. I feel like maybe I'm depressed now. I don't know for sure what's holding me back.
Wow, Nikki, that's a lot. It's understandable that you might have those feelings too. Jim, let's start with you.
Nikki, why are you still with him if he's still drinking? You have the background of understanding recovery. What is your reason? Is it a money reason? Is it a financial reason? Is it?
No. I guess I just don't want to leave him behind. He's got. It just seems like he's been skipped over for everything in his life that would have been one of those moments that, intervention came in. And I love him, but
right.
He's also kind of a loser right now.
Right. Right. Would he? Again, I realize you're calling about you being stuck, but let me ask another question. Could you say to him, unless you go get help, this is done? Kind of strong,
I
but
think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Kind of. I had last night was kind of a letdown, and then today, all he got out of my talking was that he didn't start the vehicle till his windshield could defrost, and I'm like, boy, you are in so much denial. I mean, it's almost nothing, you know.
Right.
Well, right. And remember, when they're still using, you maybe remember this, is your brain doesn't process things quite right.
Right.
Right. So he may not hear everything. He's not connecting all the dots. But I think the idea, even if you have a hard time saying, you know, we're done, I think letting him know this doesn't work for you. And it's really painful watching him do this to himself. And so you're going to have to take some steps to help yourself. Right? And you can even say, I don't want to leave you behind. But I know that I can't do it for you. And Nikki, so where is your support system? Because right now it isn't him.
No. Let's see. I go to Bible study.
Good.
They're nice ladies. I don't know. I don't know for sure where my support system is.
Okay. Are you working a program for your addiction?
Well, the lady that lived here in our town, we were doing Celebrate Recovery.
Okay.
And she moved away. Then the closest meeting of any kind that's official or whatever is 40 miles away, which money's a problem.
You're in Omaha. Omaha should have plenty of meetings.
Well, we have,
not.
it may not be CR, though, is what she's talking about.
Right.
And Nikki, we can connect you with the Life Recovery Group, too, even online. But, yeah, go
right.
ahead.
So Nikki, and it sounds like even going to meetings, and I understand it's much easier to go with someone else than to go alone. Right. But your recovery can't be dependent on the other people around you. And and it has to be that no matter what, at all costs, you are doing what you need to do for you first, right? Because here you've got a son. And so, again, doing meetings online. If there is no CR or life recovery, then you do a regular 12-step meeting of any kind, even if it isn't your drug of choice, right? You do what's available. And maybe you take your son to Alateen.
That would be amazing. We actually live in a town of a population of about 600, and we're 45 miles away from everything.
Got it.
Yeah. So your best bet is maybe going to be online.
Yeah.
Doing online meetings, right? Or there's call-in phone meetings where nobody even has to see you, right? Yeah. And you listen
Nikki, how are you doing with your motivation? You mentioned feeling depressed, and I know sometimes when we feel stuck, it can be overwhelming even to think about our suggestion to get online for a meeting. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I look around my house and I can tell that something's definitely wrong with me. My mobility, I did have some new things coming up with my legs. I got a problem now in my good foot. I need surgery, and then they want to cut out some infection on my bad leg that got messed up in 2018. So mobility is a problem, but more so than that, I think I'm definitely struggling
with depression.
With depression.
Well, and so what happens in situations where it's overwhelming? We got to start somewhere. So you have a relationship with your medical doctor, I assume, because you're dealing with all of this. And have you ever talked to that person about depression?
Years ago.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the first step, because you're dealing with some medical issues, and it's hard to know where to start. So you can start there. And I know it of course it depends on what your history has been and how you feel about that, because I know that can create some anxiety as well. But really and truly, Nikki, we got to get you started in the right direction. We're going to get you connected with an online life recovery group that can be also a very good support. And I think that one step at a time, and like you said, Jill, getting support for your son. And then as you move forward, you're going to get clarity of what to do with this relationship. And so all of that kind of, but I think it was you, Jill, or maybe it was you, Jim. Somebody said that you can let him know that it breaks your heart that this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
So any book that, what would you guys suggest for Nikki?
How about also Take Your Life Back?
Okay, that'll be good. We'll send it to you, Nikki, and we'll get you connected. So hold on, and we'll get you connected to when even sometimes a counselor can be online. That's one of the good things that came out of the pandemic, right? Is that
counseling as well.
When you're in a tiny town somewhere in the middle of America, and we hear that a lot. And I talk to my counselors who are in bigger cities. It's amazing how many people are in between those big cities that need some really good help. And I'm so grateful for those telehealth therapists, and we've got them in our network. So we're glad that you called, Nikki. We'll be praying for you as well. We're going to go and talk with Kim, who's calling us from Dallas, listens on KWRD. Hello, Kim. How can we help you today?
Hi. Are you able to hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. I'd like to talk and ask a question about, I have a friend that is having a hard time disciplining her son. Her son is 10 years old, and just basic communication. So if, in fact, we are on the phone together and having a conversation, he interrupts or, falls out and just causes a lot of disruption. And she gets a lot of anxiety every time that happens and just hangs up the phone. And so when I talk to her about it, she just doesn't know how to handle it. And I just want to know if you have any advice on how I can best help her through this situation.
Okay. Jill, you want to start?
Well, Kim, it's always difficult. And when you have young children, and 10, depending on maturity level, is still relatively young, that whenever mom is occupied, that's when kids want the attention, right? And moms do get embarrassed because they feel like, oh, my kid's acting up, and what are people going to think, and I'm a bad mom. And so I think, and I do hear the music, so maybe we'll come back, but I think being a friend that is non-shaming and gives her permission to talk about it and invites that is perhaps a good place to start. And I will give you a little bit more.
Yeah, we've got, you can hear the music, Kim, but we'll come back and we'll hear from Jim. But I love just what you presented there, Jill, that the support can be so powerful because, man, you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle raising children sometimes, especially when they start showing up like that. We'll be back after this break. Kim, hold on. And, if you do need help in these situations, we want to offer connections with a counselor or a group. We'll be back right after this talking with Kim.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. You know, I have said this before, don't struggle alone. We are here for you. You can call us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 to 3 Eastern for the show. You can call 1-800-229-3000, or you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. We've got so many ways for you to get unstuck and to keep moving forward. Right now, we're talking with Kim, who is a good friend and trying to support a friend who's raising a 10-year-old boy, which can be challenging.
Yeah.
Jill, did you have any more?
Well, let me just finish real quick. So, Kim, I think, speaking it out loud, because I see lots of moms who really struggle with that and say, hey, either you've been around kids or you understand that kids act up when mom's on the phone. How does that make her feel? And that, from your end, she doesn't need to worry, right? That you don't think any less of her as a mom, and that if she wants to talk about her frustration with her son, you'd love to listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple and I agree with her. And you know what? Sometimes she just needs somebody to listen. Listening is the language of love, and if you give her that, what a great friend you are. So you get the New Life Friend Award.
Jim's always giving out awards.
Exactly. So Kim, you get the Friend Award. Great friend. We're in Super Bowl season, right? And so there's a playbook, and both teams have a playbook. And I find that a lot of times with disciplining our 10-year-old, they're going to, right? I mean, every kid does this with the phone thing.
Yeah.
But, there are some really good playbooks out there on discipline. And I almost don't care which one it is. You just choose one that's out there and you kind of follow it. So Kathy and I chose a book that's very popular. It's called Parenting with Love and Logic. We got on the same page. We said, this is how we're going to, discipline our kids. And discipline isn't just punishment. Discipline is, help them understanding boundaries and expectations and all that fun stuff. And she literally may be at loss on what kind of a playbook to be on. See, and talk about parenting. We learn so much from things like that. So I would help her find, something, some content that helps her to do two things. One has a plan, because it doesn't sound like she really has a plan if she's going to hang up. Number two, I think it actually also, she'll read that and go, oh, I guess everybody has this issue.
Right.
I'm not a horrible mom. The mom guilt goes because, everybody, that happened. I'm now in grandchild world, and I get on the phone and my grandchildren start bugging me, and I'm like, wait, your mother did this, your mothers, because I have all daughters. So I think in a really good way, one of the ways you can help is just by listening, like they said. But I think you can also help her find content. There's great content on discipline.
Well, that book you mentioned is a great one.
Parenting with Love and Logic is a great book. There's a number of books that are kind of guilt-free, and yet they have a plan. You put that plan into place, and it helps them, because the bottom line for a 10-year-old is you're trying to help them become a responsible adult. I mean, they're only 10, but to become a responsible adult means they have to begin to have some responsibility, like not bugging mom when she's on the phone.
Right, and even setting it up ahead of time, right? Okay,
all
mom
ahead of time.
is getting on the phone. Here's what you're going to do while I'm on the phone.
Yeah, and should you bother me, then there's going to be this consequence. Are you cool with that? Well, it's not. It's in the heat. It's not in the heat of the battle.
Or if you can sit through that, right? Yeah. And don't bug mom, then we're going to do this.
Then we're going to read the story together. We're going to do this or that. Yeah, exactly. So the playbook is a key when it comes to discipline. Is it 100% proof? No. Think about talking about football again. They're changing the plays up in the middle of the the game, of course. But that idea of having a plan, most parents parent by circumstance and chance, and it just happens, when really what they need is a plan and a purpose. And today we're very fortunate to have a lot of good plans out there.
Yeah. Well, Kim, we're so grateful that you called. You're a good friend, #1 New Life friend of the day. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids, and I think that will help your friend understand. It's got some playbook, ideas in there. But to that point, Jim and Jill, I want to talk about just that whole parenting concept of literally parenting, that it's happening before the event. So you were talking about the phone call, how do we set that up? Because I think a lot of times parents, we assume that this child is going to know how to behave when a situation is going on. So, what would be, think about we talk about even curfews at a teenage level. Well, how do they know that there's a curfew unless somebody says, okay, listen, we know that there's going to be things going on. So let's just talk about that particular process.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead. You go ahead.
I think you have to start young with teaching limits, right? They have to learn that there are limits to things, right? And it's so much easier if you start young saying no and setting them up this way than waiting.
Exactly.
So it gets bigger.
And, I think we teach responsibility also and character without crushing their spirit. So very quickly, you hand them a responsibility, not in the heat of the battle, but the responsibility is, hey, when I'm on the phone, I want you to be responsible and not be bugging me. Number two, if you choose to go against that, then here's the consequence. And, I'm going to take your phone away, or I'm going to take whatever it is, screen time away, or whatever it might be. And then give it right back to them. Say, now let's try this again, because you're saying, I trust you. I'm going to try it again. And then if they do it again, then you're celebrating it. And if not, you're giving them a little bit stronger consequence. But what you're not saying you're a rotten kid. You're saying, here's how we're going to do this. This is how this works. Here's what my expectation is. Because a lot of discipline is not giving kids expectations beforehand. They really want to please mom and dad most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time, especially a 10-year-old. But we have to give them that responsibility, but also, hey, life is filled with consequences, positive and negative. So, here's a negative consequence. If you do it, then, hey, why don't we right after that, let's read a story, and then you don't pick up your phone when your friend calls. You text them and say, call them back.
I was thinking also along the lines of teaching manners. I know that seems so 1955, but literally, how are the kids supposed to know?
Of manners.
Right. This is what we do at the table. And so there's not literally a discipline. This is discipline, as in this is how we sit at the table, but there's not a consequence because this is how you function as a human being. Exactly. It's like when you talk to somebody. Yeah, right. Exactly, Joe. It's like when you talk to somebody, you look at them in the eyes, you shake hands, firmly. Those kind of skills, really, it's training, but it can make such an incredible experience as a parent. And I know that it doesn't happen all the time.
I love that. The Bible, one of the great Proverbs is, train up a child in the way that they would go. Well, part of that would be how they have manners at the dinner table. My mom and dad, I was very fortunate. They sat me down and they said, this is what you do at a dinner table, and this is what this knife and fork is for, and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was the most boring, terrible thing when I was 7. And you know what? I still appreciate it now because I know what fork to use only because my mom told me at 7. And I'm probably blowing what they had expectations for, but that's a good thing to do. Well, that's a perfect illustration. They train you. So our 10-year-old doesn't understand if we just keep going, don't talk to me right now. Not that maybe they're even doing that, but it's better to train them. And
let's face it, if every time he acts up, she gets off the phone, he wins her attention.
She's trained him well.
Right?
He won.
She's trained him well.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. Big.
It totally works.
Mic drop. Yeah, he's winning.
I hear that all the time when I'm in a store and the child is crying and the mom will say, or the dad will say, if you don't stop, we're going to go home. Well, guess what? They want to go home. They don't want to be in the store.
Right.
And so it's funny how training is so powerful in all of our lives.
Yeah.
And whether it is in recovery, because that is a training, we're retraining our emotions, our responses, or in parenting. We can help you along those lines. If you need help, please call us. We want to help you experience life in the way that God has for you. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jen. And thank you, listeners. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you. but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.